Part 43. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 423. Chapter 422. Get up early in the morning and embrace the sun. Han Qian was caught out of the bed by the old man. The old man doted on his children everywhere, but he couldn't stand the child staying in bed and couldn't get up. He pressed Han Qian's head and made a show of fatherly kindness and filial piety. The father washes his son's face. The scalding hot water made Han Qian scream, but the old man didn't feel hot at all, and was even a little warm. The three girls lay at the door and shivered when they looked at Han Qian's miserable state. Yu Shisai took out the computer and started working. When Nuan ran away to get tired of her mother-in-law, and Cai Qinghu had nothing to do. After washing his face, the old man gave Han Qian an axe, and he cut it with a chainsaw. Han Qian split the firewood, and then the father and son placed the firewood in the yard. Cai Qinghu stood not far away in his pajamas. He smiled at Han Qian and said, "Mister, hurry up and do it, it's all piled up into a hill." At this moment, Han Qian had taken off his coat, his face was covered with sweat, and he was holding an axe and draping it on the wooden pillar. The old man squinted at Han Qian and said with disdain, "You've become like this after 2 years of being out? Look how stupid you are, chop all these firewood today and exercise. It's better than spending money to go to the gym in the city." Han Qian retorted in a rough dress. "Then why don't you let Nuan come out to work? She hasn't done any exercise." "No, little brat, why do you always compare yourself to girls?" Han Qian stopped talking and continued to chop wood. Every time Han Qian raised the axe, his shirt was tightened, and the muscles in his lower abdomen were clearly defined. Han Qian had never been to a gym. These were all exercised by working at home when he was a child. He didn't even eat breakfast until noon. He finished chopping the firewood and then arranged it neatly. After finishing the work, Han Qian was lying on the kong in the east room like a dog. Just when he was about to say coquettishly that he wanted to eat, the old man, after entering the house, he threw a bamboo basket to Han Qian and said with a smile, "You didn't do anything in the mountains last time. I'll take you to the trap. Do you want to go?" Han Qian's eyes lit up and he didn't feel tired anymore. He got up and followed the old man out of the door. On the way out, he asked Nuan if he was going. The girl stayed on the hotbed and refused to move. Yu Shisai was busy with work. As for Cai Qinghu, he wanted to hear what Han Qian's mother said about Han Qian's childhood. After the old man and the young man went out, Qian's mother got off the kong, took out the frozen pears under the snow in the yard, melted them with water and handed them to the three girls. Qian's mother smiled. "Try it. I asked Han Qian to taste one yesterday. He said it was quite sweet. It is difficult to buy fresh pears in the countryside in winter. If he knew about it, he would definitely snatch it from you. Maybe frozen pears are not a good thing in the eyes of other people, but in the eyes of Qian's mother, they are good things. Buying the best pears in the county costs 6 or 7 yuan a pear, and then wash them clean. Buried in snowdrifts." Qian's mother didn't know what to give to the three girls, so she just gave them whatever she thought was good. When Nuan was the first to sit up and take the pear, she sweetly called out, "Mom is the best," and opened her mouth to suck the ice. Cool pear juice. Hot kangtu, ice pear juice. Very contradictory, but also very matching. Yu Shisai had never eaten frozen pears before. Looking at the dark stuff, she didn't know how to eat it. When she was confused, Nuan came over and whispered, "If you don't know how to eat, I'll help you eat." Yu Shisai immediately turned around and sucked the pear juice in a warm manner. It was sour and sweet, and icy, and cold. The chaos of work disappeared and his brain was very clear. Cai Qinghu held the frozen pear without moving his mouth, holding Qian's mother's hand. Bring the pear to Aunt's mouth. Just 3 pears. Auntie, you can eat them. I'll freeze them next time. Chienna's mother held Cai Kinghu's hand and smiled with her eyes narrowed. I have nothing to do at home. You can freeze it at any time. You try it first. If you like it, I will make canned food for you in the summer. If you don't mind it, I will send it to you, but you can't let Han Chien know. I will think that I am embarrass him. Nuan held the frozen pears in both hands and said angrily. I'll beat him. Mom, do you think Han Chien is sick? Why can't he understand girls' hearts? Chienna's mother wiped the pear juice on her warm chin and smiled. You need to train him. Don't let him wake up on his own. You need to clearly tell him what he did wrong and what to do with girls, so that he can understand. When Nuan nodded thoughtfully, and Yushasai wrote down these words from Chienna's mother on the computer. When dealing with Han Chien, you need to be more straightforward. In the afternoon, Chienna's father came back with 2 rabbits. They were beaten in the mountains. The male rabbit and Han Chien were clamoring to raise it. The 3 girls headed by Wen Nuan had no sympathy at all and unanimously decided to eat braised rabbit meat in the evening. Spicy rabbit head. This hot bunny guy has stumped the old man, what should I do? Then Yushasai came up with a bad idea. Call Teacher Tong, she will. Nuan patted his thigh and dialed a phone number. The call was connected in seconds. Han Chien's face darkened on the spot. Did this monster really blacklist him? Should Wen Nuan take her to have a look at her brain? The nursery rhyme was narrated twice in detail, and the eyes of the 3 girls listening together were all confused. What? Finally, Nuan handed the phone to the old man and said coquettishly. Dad, eat the rabbit head, eat the rabbit head. The old man took the phone and looked at Wen Nuan with a bitter smile. How do you 3 divide the 2 rabbits? Han Chien, go and buy a rabbit. Han Chien glared at the 3 girls and gritted his teeth. Butcher. You are all butchers, aren't rabbits cute? After that, Chien's mother spoke. Rabbits breed too fast, and I can't raise them. If I ask you to buy them, just go and buy them. Why are you so long-winded? Okay, Lafayette, please calm down, I'll go buy it now. At night, the 3 girls each gnawed on the rabbit head, showing no image at all. Han Chien knocked on the bowl of Yushasai and frowned. How come you have learned foreign etiquette, so why don't you give up any image? Yushasai said nonchalantly. Why do you need to look good in front of your parents? That's called hypocrisy. Han Chien frowned and said angrily. It's my parents, not your parents. Yushasai ignored Han Chien, turned around and shouted sweetly to Chienna's mother. Mother. Chienna's mother hummed with a smile, put a piece of meat in Yushasai's bowl, and then Cai Kinghu put down the rabbit head, picked up the white wine and poured it for the old man, and said softly. Dad, drink less. The old man smiled and nodded. When Han Chien laid his eyes on Nuan, he sighed. How come you know how to eat in your head? There was a lot of excitement at the dinner table, and the old man suddenly spoke. Han Chien, that Teacher Tong is also your good friend, right? Why didn't you come home to celebrate the New Year? Han Chien shook his head and said he didn't know. When he was clearing away the dishes after the meal, Han Chien's cell phone rang. Eldest nephew, can I go there tomorrow? Lan will go back to her hometown tomorrow, and I will be the only one left in the city. Han Chien immediately smiled. I will pick you up. No, you don't need to pick me up. I can find it myself. I'll hang up now. Putting down his phone, Han Chien raised his head and smiled at the old man. There will be another one tomorrow. Prepare to receive gifts. She is a very gentle sister. She is much more sensible than the 3 of them. As soon as these words came out, Yushasai slapped his forehead and sighed. It's over. Aunt G is coming. She has fallen out of favor. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 424. I received a text message early in the morning. Waiting at home. Han Qian was so excited that his thighs cramped. Now he is very irritated by 3 girls. They don't talk about their ignorance and try their best to harm him. Thinking of Cai Qinghu who came to Han Qian's concierge in black fishnet stockings in the middle of the night last night, Han Qian felt, she was afraid, because she was kidnapped by Nuan Wen and Yushasai within a minute of her arrival. When she was leaving, the scissors that Wen Nuan received fell on the ground. No. Don't let Nuan know about him and nursery rhyme. That would definitely kill someone. Han Qian lay on his back and put on his clothes. Cai Qinghu squeezed Han Qian's legs, stood beside the bed with a warm embrace, and said coldly. Jijing makes you excited like this? Huh? Han Qian nodded and said seriously. She doesn't harm me. As soon as he finished speaking, Cai Qinghu raised Han Qian's legs to give him a forced one-shot. Han Qian shouted that his legs hurt. He was tortured so badly by these 2 girls that his shoes were thrown away in the end. In desperation, Han Qian sent a location to Jijing and asked her to come by herself. Half an hour later, Han Qian heard the roar of the car's accelerator, but he didn't pay attention to it. Jijing's BMW didn't make such a big noise. Han Qian just lay on the bed, and then suddenly stood up. He felt a little cold on his back. There was a bad feeling in his heart. The voice was a bit familiar. He took a deep breath and found his shoes outside the door. Han Qian walked towards the door of the courtyard. There are 4 cars in the open space at the door. Warm little red. Cai Qinghu's Maserati. A pickup truck driven by Yushasai. There is also a car that Han Qian least wants to see. The Raptors are coming. Han Qian swallowed hard and rubbed his eyes vigorously. Something was wrong. Didn't she say she wouldn't come here this year? At this time, Han Qian had an idea in his mind. This car was driven by Jijing. The car door opened, and the slim and petite aunt got out of the car. Wearing black leather pants and high-heeled short boots, and a white mink shawl on the upper body, the bright red wavy hair of the past disappeared and turned into a hairstyle that resembled a sassoon-like bob, but she was dyed silver. My aunt turned the car key in her hand, opened the back door of the car and took out a leather case the size of a laptop bag. Sudden. The aunt suddenly turned around. When Han Qian saw this, he turned around and ran away. It happened that the door was about to close with inertia at this moment. Duan. The sound was like a rumble, like being hit by a warm headbutt. Han Qian covered his head and squatted down slowly. The aunt-in-law held the box and pointed at Han Qian, laughing loudly without any image at all. She held the box and shouted loudly. General Han, there is no need to beat the gong with his head to greet me. There is no need to be so enthusiastic. Han Qian covered his head and turned his head, not wanting to say a word. Yan Qingqing's appearance caught Han Qian by surprise. She is nothing like other girls. The gossips who were guarding the plastic shed at the entrance of the village seemed to have found a new topic. They looked at the little girl packing things by the Raptor car and the boy from the Han family squatting at the door. Another gossip started. Hey? Old Han's house is very lively this year. Yesterday I went to his house to help, and the little girls are more lively than the last. It's not just Chuiling. I asked my son and he told me that none of these cars are cheap. Even the pickup truck that Lao Han recently used cost more than 200,000 yuan. The white one with the small fork mark is said to be it's more than 1 million. Is this really developed? Oh, the girl is excellent. Is the Han family's kid worthy of someone else? There may not be anything going on here. Don't forget how much Ding Yan spent in hospital. It's possible that they are chasing us for money. Let's let him go tonight. I'm going to ask if those little girls are out of the government. My son is still a bachelor. He has bought 2 buildings in the city. He is more prosperous than the Han family. You see, I'm scared. Maybe some people just can't bear to see others living better than them. Yan Qingqing also saw these old ladies from the corner of her eye. They walked towards Han Jian with a suitcase in her left hand and a suitcase in her right hand. She stood beside Han Jian and put down the suitcase. She bent down and pulled Han Jian to stand up. The next second, Yan Qingqing held Han Jian's arm. On Han Jian's neck, red lips full of passion and longing were printed on Han Jian's lips. I don't care about anyone's eyes, I don't care if Han Jian is willing, I don't care if Han Jian's parents are here. She just likes Han Jian and wants to be with Han Jian. This time I am here to declare my truest thoughts. The talkative women in the plastic shed all shut up, and then they spoke with ugly faces, not feeling ashamed. Did Yan Qingqing care? She has a very similar personality to Han Jian. After the kiss, Han Jian carefully looked at the door of the main room. Fortunately, there was no one there. He breathed a sigh of relief and did not blame Yan Qingqing. He took off her hands from around her neck, picked up the 2 boxes and said softly, "Why did you come here suddenly without saying hello in advance? I'll pick you up. Worry. People from the Yamanmen went to the company not long ago, and Gao Xin Cheng asked them about your home. I'm worried that Lu Shenga will come to see you, and he will come to see you after the new year, Han Jian. I heard that Lu Shenga was seriously injured and returned to the capital. Has he come to see you?" Looking at his aunt's eager eyes, Han Jian put down his suitcase, stretched out his hand, pinched her nose, and said softly, "I was stabbed by Lin Zongheng. I lost half my life even if I didn't die. I was not injured." Yan Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this, closed her eyes and sighed. "That's good. Ji Jing won't be able to come here until tomorrow. She was dragged away by Director Qian this morning. Give me this black box. This is my gift to my parents." "What's in this?" "You Shisai bought jewelry for my parents." "Why did you change your hairstyle? It looks strange, strangely aura." This is the only adjective that Han Jian can think of. Yan Qingqing is really beautiful. Her appearance makes Nuan feel a little scared. Yan Qingqing brushed her silver hair and smiled. "Doesn't it look good? This is called cutting off black hair. I have no worries and I love you wholeheartedly. Well, where will you stay at night? Let's sleep together." Han Jian smiled bitterly and knocked on Yan Qingqing's forehead and said with a smile, "What are you thinking about? I want to live alone tonight. Come on, let me see what gifts you have prepared for my parents." Han Jian pushed the door open, and Cai Qinghu in the room looked out the window. When he saw the changed Yan Qingqing, his face turned dark instantly, and his eyes were cold, and he said in a low voice, "Didn't I say it was Ji Jing who came here? Why is it her?" Yu Shisai looked at the computer working seriously and said softly, "Not Ji Jing. Who is that?" Cai Qinghu took a deep breath and replied in a low voice, "Yan Fox." When Nuan, who was still sleeping, suddenly sat up and exclaimed, "Who? Yan who? Where is it?" "It's in the yard." When Nuan left the Kong, which was reluctant to leave, and hurriedly got off the Kong and went out. However, it was still too late when she went out. Qian's mother had already walked out. Yan Qingqing held the box in front of her and bent down to salute without a smile. "Hello, Mom, my name is Yan Qingqing. I am 27 years old, unmarried, and have no love history. I am the manager of the company where Han Jian works, and one of the many girls who pursues Han Jian." Han Jian stretched out his hand to cover Yan Qingqing's mouth and smiled awkwardly. I'm the manager, and I have a daddy. She gave you your wine and tobacco. Come into the house, Come into the house, we'll talk about it after we get in, we'll talk about it after we get in. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 425. Yan Qingqing's dress is very uncomfortable to the eyes of the rural elderly. Qian'er's mother feels that this young girl does not look like the boss of a company, but the old man believes that Nuan, this girl, can be a vice president. Why can't other girls, and what's more, the strength and straightforwardness shown by this girl, and the hostility and fear shown by the daughter-in-law? This all means that the status and ability of this girl named Yan Qingqing are not lower than Wen Nuan, and one more thing. These three little girls all know this silver short-haired Yan Qingqing. Yan Qingqing did not slip on the Kong and be intimate with Qian'er's mother like the other three girls. She placed the black suitcase in front of Qian'er's mother, stood in the room, bowed deeply to Qian'er's mother, and spoke sincerely. Qingqing is very grateful to Auntie. Your children have given me a firm foothold in the company and helped me win the company's trust and conviction. If I don't come to visit you this year, Qingqing will be ashamed of Han Qian for taking care of me. Please forgive Qingqing for not taking care of me. Please come. The girl who was the most unruly and domineering in the past has become the most talkative and polite girl today. Qian'er's mother sat up by the Kong and took Yan Qingqing's hand, saying kindly and softly, "He's working for you, doing all the things he's supposed to do." "No. Auntie, Han Qian has many things hidden in his heart and dare not tell you. He is worried about your health, but I can see all his hard work and fatigue. Sometimes I see him working around the clock, and I feel very sorry for him. He is only 25 years old. If it were not for the pressure of life, a 25-year-old man would still be thinking about how to have fun and how to be happy." Several people could feel Yan Qingqing's trembling in her breathing. Han Qian frowned and was about to speak, but the old man put his arm around his shoulders and took him out of the room. After Han Qian went out, Yan Qingqing took a deep breath again. "Auntie, I am proud of your child Han Qian, and thank you for your education and training of him. This is Han Qian's year-end bonus, and it is also my New Year's gift to you." After saying that, Yan Qingqing opened the suitcase, and wads of red banknotes were placed inside the box. Qian'er's mother was stunned for a moment. Yan Qingqing guessed what Qian'er's mother was going to say, and spoke first without giving her aunt a chance to speak. "Auntie, the value of the shares Han Qian helped me get is over 100 million. The 660,000 is just a drop in the ocean compared to what Han Qian gave me. If Han Qian doesn't know this money, I won't give him his clothes. He doesn't need to spend money on tobacco, cigarettes, or living expenses. I don't want him to have too much money in his hands. He values everything but doesn't care about money. The 600,000 yuan in his hands may be 30%. It will be given away in 5 days, so. Auntie, I hope you can accept it." Qian'er's mother really didn't know what to say at this time, because this girl was right. Han Qian, the kid, really didn't care about money. When Qian'er's mother was struggling, Yan Qingqing took out money in her pocket again. A bank card was handed to Qian'er's mother. Qian'er's mother stood up and raised her hand to refuse, saying softly, "Son, I saved this money for Han Qian, but I can't use this card anymore." Yan Qingqing laughed softly. "Auntie, you misunderstood. This is the money Han Qian asked me to save for him. The maximum amount in this card was 800,000. Don't worry, all this money was earned by Han Qian's hard work, but now there is only he spent 300,000 yuan, and he squandered the money and gave it away. Now I am just a suitor of Han Qian. I am not qualified to keep this money here. Auntie, you can keep it on behalf of Han Qian. There is now 1 million inside and outside." Jian's mother has never seen so much money in her life. What this little girl said left her with no reason to refuse. She was wondering whether Han Jian earned all this money. At this time, Nuan, who had been silent until now, spoke. Mom, just accept it. Although I don't like Yan Qingqing, this money is indeed earned by Han Jian, and I also agree with what she said that Han Jian does not use money as money. This is a fact, you can keep it for him, the money is not much. The daughter-in-law also spoke, and Jian's mother accepted the money and card, and she would save the money for Han Jian. Then Nuan hugged Yan Qingqing sideways. The words have been said and the money has been given. You can leave. I won't keep you for lunch. Yan Qingqing turned to look at Wen Nuan and laughed. Vice President Wen, do you want me to tell Auntie why Han Jian works so hard? Isn't it because... The sister-in-law's mouth was covered again, and her petite figure was dragged out of the room with her neck and mouth covered by the warmth. When she went out, she faced Jian's mother in a naive and petite manner. Mom, let's go get in touch. Yan Qingqing was pushed into the west room by Wen Nuan, and then Nuan Wen's screams and Cai Qinghu's gloating laughter came from the west room. It's true that one thing brings another, but the warmth she can't help the most is that Yan Qingqing can't do anything about it. Han Jian and the old man were lying on the concierge's bed. The old man was smoking, looking at the roof, and said softly. What would you do if your mother found out you were injured? Han Jian turned around and glared. Then drag me out and I'll stop her. I think you can't stop me. This little girl named Yan is as talkative as Xiao Nuan. Is she really your boss? Not really a boss, but one of the bosses of the company. I work under her. Is she pursuing you? You old man, can you talk about something positive? I won't talk to you anymore. I'm going to take a look. I'm worried that Yan Qingqing and Wen Nuan are fighting. After saying that, Han Jian stood up and walked out of the concierge. As soon as he walked out, he saw Yan Qingqing jumping out of the door of the main room. As soon as Yan Qingqing saw Han Jian, her face fell instantly, and she walked to Han Jian with a sigh. Sighed. Hey, I read it and gave it away. If there's nothing to do, I'll go home first. My parents are traveling abroad and I have to go home to look at the house. Han Jian, I'm leaving, I'm really leaving. Han Jian was slightly stunned and frowned. You're leaving right now? Why are you in such a hurry? Yan Qingqing sighed again. There's no hurry. I just took a look and it seems like there's no place for me to live. Han Jian glanced at the concierge opposite and said doubtfully. I'll stay for 2 days before leaving. This room looks like... Really? Then I won't leave. I seem to have a quilt in the car. I'll get it. Seeing Yan Qingqing running out the door, Han Jian waved his hand and slapped himself. Isn't this a mean-spirited speech? Are you going to stay and quarrel with Nuan and the others? Seeing Yan Qingqing come back with the quilt, Han Jian squatted on the ground and covered his head. Even if she didn't speak just now, she might not leave. In the afternoon, Yan Qingqing squatted in the yard to train Huan. Seeing Huan's helpless look, Han Jian couldn't stand it anymore and carried Huan back to the kennel. Yan Qingqing didn't take it seriously and ran to the firewood pile. Helping the old man is more like joining in the fun. Han Jian sighed helplessly and shouted softly. Mr. Yan, can we stop going over there and causing trouble? Look at Chisai and they are all working. You look like a second-rate kid on the street. Yan Qingqing stood up and shook her hair, saying proudly. Sister is willing, but you don't have to be too unhappy. I called just now and your Aunt Ji will be here tomorrow. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Huan. Chapter 426. Jijing finally came. Han Jian looked forward to Jijing's arrival as if he were looking forward to the stars and the moon. However, the time was not quite right because tomorrow was the New Year's Eve. Jijing arrived much later than expected. Looking at Jijing was standing at the entrance of the courtyard. Han Qian quickly ran to the entrance of the courtyard, stretched out his hand to take the gift from Jijing's hand, and said coquettishly, "Aunt Ji, you are finally here. I am living in dire straits." Jijing's dress is the simplest, with a white windbreaker, black trousers, and her long hair tied into a ponytail. She is the only woman who can be seen to look like a normal urban girl. Jijing smiled sweetly at Han Qian and said he took out a white rabbit toffee from his pocket and stuffed it into Han Qian's mouth, saying softly, "Sweet or not?" "Sweet, but not as sweet as you." Jijing was picked up by Han Qian all the way to the east room, and Han Qian walked in and said, "Mom, this is Jijing, the girl who takes the best care of me in work and life. Aunt Ji, this is my mother." Jijing bent down slightly and said softly, "Sorry to bother you." Qian's mother looked at Jijing and couldn't help but smile. She felt comfortable when she saw this girl. She was also the most pleasing to the eye in her dress. Qian's mother took Jijing's hand and sat by the Kong, saying softly, "Come up to the Kong and let it cool down." Jijing smiled softly. "It's not cold. I have long heard that auntie, you are not in good health. I have never come to see you. I thought I would come earlier. I also heard that Vice President Wen and the others were already here. I was worried that coming would cause trouble to you, so I was a little late. God, how are you doing, auntie? You must eat well, go for regular check-ups, and get early detection and early treatment, which will cost you less money. Don't take any chances. Not to mention spending money when the time comes, it's mainly about suffering. Han Qian will be distressed and worried." As he spoke, Han Qian knelt down and took off Jijing's shoes and pushed her into the Kong. Jijing blushed slightly and sat beside Qian's mother without saying a word. Qian's mother looked at this well-behaved girl and liked it. "Tight," he said softly. "Jing Jing, you won't be going home for the Chinese New Year, will you?" Jijing shook her head with a lonely look. Seeing this, Qian's mother raised her head and glanced at Han Qian. Han Qian also shook his head. Qian's mother understood in her heart and didn't ask any more questions. She took Jijing's hand and said softly, "What do you like to eat? I'll let Han Qian cook it for you." Jijing raised her head and shook her head with a smile. "I'm not hungry. I'm just a little tired after driving all the way." "Auntie, I heard Han Qian said you might have told a story." Qian's mother chuckled. "They are all ghost stories. They were used to scare him when he was a child." As they talked, a quarrel broke out in the west room. Han Qian covered his face and sighed helplessly. Qian's mother seemed to be used to it. She held Jijing's hand and chatted. It didn't take long for the warmth to come over. Seeing Jijing sitting on the Kong acting very calm, she nodded slightly as a greeting. Later, Yan Qingqing and others came over to take a look. They were very friendly to Jijing and others. At least they were not like Wen Nuan when she saw Cai Qinghu or Yan Qingqing. Jijing sat next to Qian's mother and looked indifferent to the world. Wen Nuan got on the Kong and leaned next to Qian's mother. Jijing took out a white rabbit toffee and handed it to Wen Wen. The latter stuffed it into his mouth. The latter was rude and unruly. Jijing's arrival created a chemical reaction. She has a relatively quiet personality and stayed with Qian's mother throughout the afternoon. This made several other girls feel a sense of crisis and put down what they were doing to come over to Qian's mother to increase their goodwill. Han Qian hurriedly laid a quilt for Jijing and lived in the same room with Yan Qingqing. The dinner was very lively. There was a large table of people. The old man and Han Qian were busy in the kitchen for more than an hour before finishing the dinner. Wen Nuan sat on the left side of Qian's mother, Yan Qingqing sat on the right, and Cai Qinghu and Yu Shisai sat on the right side. The old man's people separated Jijing and Han Qian abruptly. At the dinner table, Yan Qingqing served Qian's mother some food. Wen Wenwen didn't feel surprised at all and raised the bowl to take it. She said that she wanted to help her mother taste it to see if it was poisonous. Yan Qingqing was too lazy to pay attention to the childish Wenwen and looked at Han Qi and said softly. After the new year, the interior decoration of Honor Home Plaza can be carried out. This planning is considered to be done by you. When the time comes, will you go over and keep an eye on it? Han Qian took a bite of chicken and said vaguely. Leave it to the General Department and Operations Department. Now that you are a shareholder, you can't give up on the General Department. Both Yang Lan and Sul Yang can help you. I will support Aunt Ji. You have to deal with the investment promotion of Honor Home Plaza. Give it to Gao Fulai. Now I've given Lushenga a stupor, and he can't tell the difference between east, west, north, and south, so hurry up and get closer to Gao Fulai, it will be useful in the future. Yan Qingqing nodded slightly, and then Han Qian spoke. Aunt Ji, aren't you both able to drink? Just drink if you want. It's the Chinese New Year. Jijing shook her head gently and whispered. You have to get up early for the New Year tomorrow. Let's have a New Year's Eve dinner tomorrow night. After saying this, Wen Nuan raised his head and looked at Han Qian, who gave him a look that prohibited him from drinking. Yan Qingqing seemed to want Wen to drink and get her drunk. Cai King Hu, who had been eating quietly, got some white wine for the old man and spoke softly. Han Qian, the people at the provincial government office said they wanted to see you, but I pushed them away. They said you didn't have time and it was inconvenient. They are all old fools. You should be careful with them. Han Qian frowned and said solemnly. Because of Toad and Zhang Song's arrest? I really don't have time to deal with them. For the time being, I don't want to have contact with anyone from the province, and I don't want to cause trouble to Cheng Jin. Cai King Hu ate in a low voice. I am also from the province. Han Qian raised his eyebrows and said angrily. What's wrong with you? Snapped. The old man slapped Han Qian on the back of the head across Cai King Hu. Han Qian lowered his head and ate obediently. After the meal, Han Qian quickly returned to the concierge. Places with many women are battlefields, and you need to stay away for your safety. But he was still taken back by the warmth. There was an accident when assigning rooms at night, because Jijing had a little problem, she brought her own bedding, and she was not used to sleeping in the same bed with other people, so Nuan made a very reasonable decision. Jijing can sleep alone in the concierge tonight. Han Qian is right opposite, so there's no need to be afraid. Yan Qingqing asked with a frown. What about me? Nuan patted the position where he was afraid of the bed, and sighed with regret. You sleep here. Then, except for Jijing, the faces of several other girls in the room became gloomy at the same time, and they said in unison. How about you? Wen Nuan squinted his eyes and smiled. I'll just go and sleep in the same bed with Han Qian. After saying that, he turned to look at Han Qian, narrowed his eyes and threatened. Do you have any objections? Han Qian frowned and whispered. I don't dare to say anything if I have an opinion. Yan Qingqing said quickly. Say, it's okay. Han Qian whispered again. Actually, I have no objection. Either, or. Yan Qingqing was anxious and spoke directly. Forget it, stop talking, I understand. Jijing and Han Qian can change rooms, and Han Qian and I can sleep on the same bed. No. Actually, it's okay. The last words came from Han Qian's mouth, and then he was grabbed by the hair and kicked out of the room by Wen Nuan, and another quarrel started in the room. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Han Qian was lying alone on the bed, sighing softly at the injustice of the world. What a sin! At another 10 o'clock, the door was pushed open. Nuan walked in with the key, lifted the quilt and said angrily, "Go inside." Han Qian, who didn't dare to refuse, moved closer. When Nuan opened the quilt and got into the bed, saying coldly, "To avoid stray cats and uncontrollable dogs, I will sleep here tonight." Oh! Han Qian got into bed and involuntarily held Nuan's waist with his right hand. Nuan didn't respond. Han Qian felt sleepy. Just when he was about to fall asleep, the door of the room was suddenly pushed open. In a daze, the girl got into bed, and Han Qian was awakened. He quickly stood up and looked at Yan Qingqing, who got into bed. Han Qian said angrily, "Are you unhappy if you don't play me to death?" Yan Qingqing narrowed her eyes and smiled. "I don't want my pig to be eaten by cabbage. Nuan, please stop pretending to be asleep." Nuan turned over and gritted his teeth, glared at Yan Qingqing, and growled, "Are you sick? Are you shameless about getting into a man's bed in the middle of the night? There is not much difference between you and me. It's just that you are thick-skinned and warm. Let me tell you, you two are divorced. Now Han Qian is single, even if he... The door was pushed open again. Cai Qinghu, wearing pajamas, looked at the two girls sitting beside the bed and lying under the quilt, with contemptuous eyes and sarcastic lips. "Are you so hungry and thirsty?" After saying that, he rushed towards Han Qian, held Han Qian's face and kissed him on the lips. At this moment, Han Qian's eyes widened. He had already thought about where he would be buried tomorrow. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 427. What do you three want to do? I'm going to sleep at Yushasai's place while Lai stays here. What? Han Qian, do you want to sleep with me? Yushasai's voice came from behind Han Qian. Han Qian was frightened and turned around to look at Yushasai in his pajamas. Yushasai looked down at Han Qian's face and landed on that special spot. Got a wink. Fortunately, Han Qian stood in front of her, otherwise Han Qian would have been buried tonight. Han Qian couldn't help but feel a little frightened in his heart. He remembered the erotic dream with nursery rhyme again. Yushasai bypassed Han Qian and went to bed, laughing. I don't mind if he sleeps with me. After all, Han Qian is so handsome, and his genes must be very good, and my genes are not bad either. He is not as tall as Cai Qinghu and Wen, but he is a little taller than Yan Qingqing, and his breasts are also better than theirs. They are both plumper, and I am mixed race, with excellent genes. Cai Qinghu pouted, lifted the quilt and stretched out her slender legs. Her loose pajamas revealed her snow-white legs. She looked at Yushasai's legs provocatively and disdainfully. Yan Qingqing stood up, holding her plump breasts with both hands, and whispered softly, "Sigh. It's better for Bobo to be smaller. It's too heavy. What do you think, Han Qian?" Han Qian didn't dare to say anything, and he didn't even dare to look at it. One shows off his legs and the other shows off his chest. He is a man who has just had sex. He has been lying in the warmth and wants to sleep. He sat up and said angrily, "Can you be a human being?" Yan Qingqing dragged her chest and turned to look at Wen Nuan, smiling evilly. "If you want to touch it, I'll let you touch it. After all, you don't have one. I'm very generous." Wen Nuan gritted his teeth and glared at Yan Qingqing. He lowered his head and glanced at his chest. Wen Nuan sighed feebly. With a sigh, he spoke in a low voice, expressing countless bitterness. "Yan Hu, why have you grown so big? Do you have any tips?" Han Qian was shocked, jumped on his feet and roared. "Yan Qingqing, please stop talking nonsense, and can you guys pay attention? I am a man. You are women, you should remain reserved and shy in front of me, and not act like a gangster. To be honest, Han Qian really couldn't stand this kind of scene. Yan Qingqing leaned on the bed and curled her lips. You. If I were not a rogue, you might not be snatched away by any woman. Han Qian, let me tell you, times have changed. Girls are no longer waiting for boys to pay betrothal gifts without lifting their red heads calves. Only then can we see the era of future husband-in-law. It is the era of free love. I like you, I pursue you, and I seduce you. All these are normal. Don't bring your old era ideas into the new era. This is not advisable, you should be more open-minded. Han Qian frowned and retorted. This has nothing to do with the old era and the new era. There is no polygamy in the new era. As soon as these words came out, Han Qian felt that something was wrong. All four girls on the bed frowned, and Wen Nuan tilted their heads in confusion. Crazy family cleverness. Polygamy. Cai Qinghu chuckled and had already lifted the quilt and got out of bed. Yan Qingqing squinted at Han Qian and said coldly. Little Hanzi, you are thinking very fancy. Before Han Qian could escape, Cai Qinghu grabbed Han Qian's arm and pinned him on the bed. Never expected that. Cai Qinghu actually knew some wolf protection skills, and the remaining three girls swarmed over him. Han Qian covered his head with one hand to protect it, for fear of being decapitated in the chaos. A cry that sounded like a wolf's howl. The four girls let go at the same time and stayed away from Han Qian. Han Qian covered his hands with his teeth and glared at the four women, saying angrily. Are you going to kill me? Nuan quickly raised his hand to explain. Brother Qian, we have been arguing for several years, but I have never done anything to you. You know I am shy. Yan Hu is the only one who can do such a cruel thing. Nuan, don't talk nonsense. I am planning to marry Han Qian. It is impossible for me to attack his position. If you don't feel sorry for me, I still feel sorry for you. Han Qian, let me brag to you. As he was about to step forward, Cai Qinghu grabbed Yan Qingqing's back collar and threw it to Nuan, frowning. Who else could it be if it wasn't you? Yan Qingqing said angrily. There's no way it can't be you. It's you Cai Qinghu, why are you so anxious to throw the blame away? Me? He is my husband-in-law. You are just taking revenge on Han Qian for not asking you to come to his house for the new year. Shut up, crazy lady Cai. What did you call me? Slut, slut, slut. Seeing that the two of them were about to fight, Yu Shisai finally spoke. In this way, I have a way. Each of us will pinch Han Qian and let Han Qian feel it. This way we will know who is the murderer. Yan Qingqing nodded in agreement. Okay, I'll go first. As soon as he finished speaking, he was about to take action. Han Qian was so frightened that he crawled under the bed, gritting his teeth and growling. Would you guys feel uncomfortable if you don't crush me to death? Stay away from me. Come on, Han Qian, I'll give you a blowjob. Yan Qingqing had just knelt on the bed. Before her hands touched Han Qian, a force of gravity came from her back. Yan Qingqing cried out in pain. She was ridden by Wen Nuan and slapped Yan Qingqing's buttocks. Said angrily. Watch your mouth. Get down here, Nuan, you're dead. I'm not heavy, I'm only 95 pounds. You have no breasts, so you are definitely not more than 100, but you are also heavy. Cai Qinghu and Yu Shisai were watching the theater with their arms around each other, making noises. The door was pushed open, and Ji Jing walked in and whispered. Stop arguing, uncle and aunt have already gone to bed. Why are you arguing, huh? What's wrong with you, nephew? Are you injured here? Seeing Han Qian covering his crotch with an empty expression, Ji Jing went up to comfort him, but didn't know how to speak. After a moment of silence, she raised her head and looked at the girls who seemed to like to play around, complaining softly. Now, why did you touch that place? Who did it? When Nuan pointed at Yan Qingqing pointed at Cai Qinghu, and Cai Qinghu pointed at Yushasai. No one acknowledged it, and Jing stopped asking too many questions and walked to Han Qian to comfort him gently. If it hurts a lot, don't hold it in. Check to see if it's bleeding. Cai Qinghu said immediately. Yes, see if there is bleeding. As soon as he finished speaking, he was about to step forward and take off Han Qian's pants. This time, Han Qian panicked and hurriedly dug into the cup. This was impossible. Gradually, the pain was relieved, and several girls stayed in the room without leaving. Jing looked at Han Qian with a worried look on her face, not knowing which tendon Yan Qingqing had hit wrong, and patted the warm breastplate and shouted loudly. Don't worry, Han Qian, even if you become a eunuch, I will still marry you. When Nuan pushed Yan Qingqing away and said angrily. Come to think of it, why are you patting my chest? Yan Qingqing replied with an innocent look. I'm thick and it doesn't make any sound when I slap it. When Nuan had murderous intentions towards Yan Qingqing. Just when the two were about to take action, Han Qian's cell phone suddenly rang and a text message came. The number is unfamiliar and the text message is simple. Happy New Year. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 428. As soon as 12 o'clock arrived, Han Qian's phone vibrated non-stop, and text messages flooded in. Compared to Han Qian, the girl seemed a little cold, with only a few messages. Nuan broke through the siege and leaned against Han Qian to read text messages on his cell phone. Because Han Qian never saved a phone number, only he knew who sent these text messages, and he couldn't guess some of them. Wu Qingxi sent a picture via MMS. She had not returned home for the new year. She was wearing a Qing dynasty costume and holding a piece of calligraphy in her hand with several large characters written on it. Master, I wish you a happy new year. The naughty words matched the look of the female star, and Han Qian laughed out loud and replied with 2 words. Fun. The words are concise, and the warmth is whispered. You just returned to her house so coldly? You can tell that she was ready to give you New Year greetings during the day. Han Qian turned his head and glanced at Wen Nuan, then thought about it and replied. The calligraphy is good. After the text message was sent, Wen Nuan raised his head and slapped Yan Qingqing on the forehead, sighing. Don't watch it. If I were Wu Qingxi, I would have the intention to kill you now. Yan Qingqing was stunned by the sudden slap. After a moment, she glared at Wen Nuan and gritted her teeth. You are helpless, why are you slapping me on the head? Nonsense, does it hurt to slap me? Yan Qingqing bared her teeth like a Shiba Inu and looked at Wen Nuan. Seeing that the two were about to fight, Jing stood up and said softly. You guys are very angry when you sleep on the earthen bed. I'll cut some fruit to calm you down. Aunt Ji ran away first. After Wen Nuan and Yan Qingqing prepared for the decisive battle, Han Qian's left and right were occupied by Cai Qinghu and Yushasai. Han Qian ignored the 2 girls and continued to read the text messages. The next one was sent by Sul Yang. Happy New Year, brother, beware of backyard fires. Han Qian replied expressionlessly. The sky is filled with raging flames. Yang Lan, Qian Wang, Tu Kun, Li Jiai, Li Er, and others all sent text messages, all planning to wish Han Qian a happy new year. What pleased Han Qian was that none of these people sent them in groups, except for the first text message. Think. At 12:05, a text message from Guandegu was sent. Brother Han, Happy New Year. Brother Guan has fun together. As soon as the text message was sent, Guandago's phone called. After getting through, he shouted, "Brother Han, has the Empress of the East and West Palace met Lafayette?" East and West Palace. Han Qian raised his head and glanced at Wen Nuan and Yan Qingqing, and couldn't help but sigh. At this time, Cai Qinghu sneered at the mobile phone. "Guandagu, am I the East Palace or the West Palace? You are Ximen Qing, Brother Han, take your leave." This guy hung up the phone. The simple conversation lasted for less than a minute. The phone received a lot of text messages. Gao Fulai, Wei Tiancheng, Lu Guangming, and others sent the text messages. Several people asked Han Qian when he would go back. Han Qian didn't reply, and he didn't have time to reply. His phone never stopped vibrating, and Wu Siquan's text message was also sent. Just answer the phone and reply to text messages. It was almost 1 o'clock when they finished their work, and the girls were too lazy to look at it. In warm words, Han Qian had a disease in his head and he should see an old Chinese doctor. Han Qian secretly sent a text message to Tanjio, but the result was that the message failed to be sent. Han Qian was so angry that he dropped his phone. There are several text messages from unknown numbers on the phone with the same content. Happy New Year. Han Qian didn't think much about it. As soon as he put down his phone, another text message came from his phone. "Little bastard, why don't you send me a text message during the Chinese New Year? This number is very unfamiliar." Han Qian firmly believes that this is the first time he has seen this number, and there are only a few people who call him little bastard. Han Qian sat up and came to Nuan and whispered, "Do you think this number belongs to my uncle?" When Nuan glanced at it and shook his head, broke open the peanuts from the stove, threw them into his mouth, and said vaguely, "Uncle never takes the initiative to send messages to juniors, and neither will he." Han Qian frowned and said in confusion, "Who is that?" Before she finished speaking, the phone was taken away. Yan Qingqing glanced at it and threw it to Cai Qinghu. After looking at it, Cai Qinghu took out her phone and said softly, "It belongs to Niu Qiudong. My husband, you have a high position. A senior city official took the initiative to send you a message. Please reply. Just wait and see. It's already 1 o'clock. Aren't you going to bed? Let me tell you, people set off firecrackers at 4 o'clock in the countryside. You won't be able to continue sleeping by then. You'd better go to bed early, Nuan. Tomorrow you will have to wear a fuwa cotton padded jacket and sit on the kong. Oh, I forgot. I'm going to sleep first." After saying that, Wen Nuan got into bed. Seeing that she didn't want to go back to sleep at all, Yan Qingqing broke off the peanuts and pouted. "It's just a late night stay. You all go to bed. I'll stay up late with Han Qian. Anyway, I slept all day during the day and I'm not sleepy now. Han Qian opens his mouth and I'll feed you some peanuts." Han Qian had a look of resistance. At this time, Ji Jing took out a piece of toffee like a magic trick. Han Qian bent down and took the toffee away. Ji Jing smiled and picked up Han Qian's mobile phone and said softly, "The people who send you text messages during the New Year are all people who care about you. If you don't reply to the text messages, they will be unhappy. Let me answer them for you." Han Qian nodded seriously and whispered, "Didn't you receive a few text messages? I turned off my phone. I don't need my phone now." Han Qian frowned and blinked, not knowing how to pick it up. Aunt Ji's meaning was obvious. Han Qian was by her side, so she didn't need to contact anyone. Aunt Ji was as tender as water. Ji Jing lowered her head to help. Han Qian replied to the text message very seriously. The girls had no intention of going to bed, so Han Qian didn't sleep either. The parents were chatting briefly, and Yan Qingqing suddenly spoke. "Han Qian, what I told my mother this time is that I will come to my boyfriend's house to celebrate the New Year. What are you going to do to prepare for meeting my parents at any time? See you, uncle, Yan Ching Ching, don't be so shameless. Everyone thought Wen Nuan had fallen asleep. At this moment, the girl sat up and glared at Yan Ching Ching with messy hair. The latter ignored Wen Wen and hugged Han Qian's neck, took a photo, and then sent it to her mother. Then he threw the phone to Wen Nuan. After seeing the words on it, Wen Wen became furious and rushed towards Yan Ching Ching. The two girls started fighting again. Yu Shisai picked up her phone and looked at it and couldn't help laughing. Getting ready to hold my grandson. Why? Life is hard. Han Qian didn't have the energy to argue with them. 4 o'clock in the morning. The first sound of firecrackers broke the silence. Han Qian walked out of the concierge wearing a cotton-padded jacket, took out fireworks and firecrackers and placed them outside the courtyard gate. Han Qian lit the fireworks, turned around and ran to the door. The only girl who accompanied Han Qian out to set off the fireworks was Ji Jing. The others were arguing about whether they were sleepy or not. By now, it was dark and the sky was dark. Ji Jing opened her arms, her eyes were watery, and she shouted softly. "Big nephew, give me a hug." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 429. The sound of firecrackers continues to rise and fall. It is still dark in the village at 4 o'clock, but the people who should be busy have already started to be busy. This is the busiest day every year. People who go out to work return, and the children bring their children. Come home and reunite. Han Qian squatted on the edge of the Kong and was scolded by Qian's mother. Several girls are sleeping so early in the morning. Why are you setting off firecrackers? Han Qian lowered his head and muttered softly. Isn't this letting them feel the New Year atmosphere? Go, go, don't be angry with me here. Take the gift and look at your elders. They were very rare for you when I was a child. Don't worry about what their children do. The elders are the elders and the younger generations are the younger generations. Go ahead. Han Qian looked at his mother resentfully, and then Cai Qinghu spoke. I'll accompany you. It's too hard to say New Year's greetings. Let's take a walk. Wearing a red cotton-padded jacket and sitting on the edge of the Kong, Wen Nuan breathed a sigh of relief. The last thing she wanted to do was talk to strangers. After Han Qian and Cai Qinghu left, Qian's mother started to clean up the room and prepare to wait for the juniors to come over to pay New Year greetings. Most of the juniors during the New Year were I came here for the New Year's money, and now that my son has a promising future, I feel confident. Qian's mother first made 5 small sachets and handed them to Wen Nuan, Yan Ching Ching, Yu Shisai and Ji Jing respectively, smiling fondly. To celebrate the New Year with joy, Wen Nuan took the heavy red envelope and opened it curiously. A yuan data silver coin lay quietly inside the bag. Wen Nuan took out Dayang, raised his head and wondered. Mom, where did you get this? Qian's mother narrowed her eyes and smiled. Grandma Han Qian left it behind when she left. It's too tacky to give money during the New Year, and the money will be gone. This little thing can be used as a souvenir. Nuan put away the small sachet, turned to look at Yan Ching Ching, and said softly. You don't need this thing, I'll save it for you. Yan Ching Ching curled her lips and said. Don't fool me with your 3-year-old IQ. You can play with Yang Baibai. After saying that, she took out the silver coin Dayang and put it in her hand. This was the first time Yan Ching Ching touched a real silver coin. I heard that in the war years, soldiers who died on the battlefield could be divided into 2. Now this silver coin has to be divided into 2. It's about 1,000 yuan. Slowly, the 3 girls set their eyes on Ji Jing and smiled warmly. Manager Ji, show me if your piece is the same as mine. Ji Jing, don't listen to Nuan, we are best friends, I will save it for you. Ji Jing covered the small sachet, looked at the 3 of them warily, and shook her head firmly. At noon, Han Qian came back, dejected. Cai Qinghu's face was red and she was holding a stack of red envelopes in her hands. She started to show off her trophies when she walked in. Qian's mother smiled fondly and said warmly and curiously, "Secretary, where did you get so many red envelopes?" Cai Qinghu was in a good mood, unfolded the red envelope and made it into a small fan, and said with a smile, "Han Qian and I went to the elder's house to pay New Year greetings. They all said that Han Qian brought his new wife to pay New Year greetings, so he gave me a red envelope. Auntie, you can keep the red envelope and send it back in a few days." Hey! What is fake will be fake after all, and it will never become true in this lifetime. Yan Qingqing sighed softly. Cai Qinghu turned around and glared. At this time Ji Jing came to the edge of the Kong and said softly, "I'm going to help Uncle cook." "I am coming too." Han Qian and Ji Jing ran away first. Yu Shisai glared at their backs and whispered, "Adulterer." Not long after, the juniors in the village came to pay New Year's greetings. They were all going back to the city tomorrow on the first day of the Lunar New Year. "Yes, I can only come here to pay my New Year greetings on the New Year's Day. After receiving the gift, give the red envelope." The four girls on the Kong naughtily pretended to be Han Qian's wives. Later, Qian's mother didn't bother to explain, so she just let them do whatever they liked. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the first meal of the new year began. The table was filled with more than 30 delicacies, and the girls' wine glasses were also filled. What Han Qian was worried about did not happen. Fortunately, these girls were sensible and did not quarrel in front of Han Qian's parents. On New Year's Eve, everyone gathered together to watch the Spring Festival Gala. Han Qian and Ji Jing, who had not slept all day, began to feel sleepy. Han Qian yawned and went to bed, because he was leaving tomorrow and stayed at home for a while. The old man has been busy for more than 2 months and cannot stay at home like this. Moreover, there are constant calls from the city. It's time for him to go back. After returning to the room, she lay down and fell asleep quickly. Qian's mother didn't want the girls to disturb Han Qian, so she held their hands and chatted until late at night. Han Qian didn't know what they talked about specifically, but she only knew that at noon the next day when they were about to leave, the girls were very reluctant to leave Qian's mother. However, Qian's mother disliked Han Qian very much. When she left, she pulled Han Qian's ear and told him not to do anything outside. Han Qian nodded obediently and agreed. On the way back, Yu Shisai drove the car and Nuan sat in the passenger seat. Han Qian sat in the back. When Nuan said softly, "Han Qian, when you are stable in a few years, take your parents to live in the city. If you don't like the buildings, just buy a small villa in the suburbs. The price is not expensive and you can make money by yourself. We have an urgent matter. I can get there in time, but it's too far here, and I can't help my parents if something happens to them." Yu Shisai followed. "Han Qian, I also agree with Wen Nuan's proposal. I won't talk about my relationship with Wen Nuan, nor my relationship with you. I simply care about the character of my parents. My mother dotes on her children, and my father takes good care of us. I don't want to say you have to wait for the holidays when you visit your parents. I know that although you don't want your parents to know about your stay in the city, you don't have to tell them. We can help you hide it, but now that you are making money, you should let them know. Mom and Dad enjoy the blessing, right? Han Qian, I know you owe Nuan 4 million, but you can't pay back the money. Let's buy a house for my parents first." Han Qian, who was sitting in the back, sighed. "Hey, I want to take it over too, but I can't persuade them." Nuan said. "You don't need me, I'm going to act like a baby. I really can't tell you that I'm pregnant." Han Qian and Yu Shisai both looked at Nuan like a fool. What on earth was going on in her head? Han Qian sighed helplessly. What will you do if you can't give birth? Then it means Yan Qingqing drugged me. The conflict between Wen Nuan and Yan Qingqing could not be resolved. After leaving the village, Qian's mother sent a message to Han Qian. I quite like that girl Ji Jing. My mother was adding to the chaos, and I don't know how the news leaked. Before Han Qian arrived in the city, Qian Ling called and asked Han Qian to take a few girls to his house to have fun and chat by the way. Company matters. After hanging up the phone, Cheng Jin and Tu Xiao called one after another. They all asked Han Qian if he had time in the evening and went over to sit for a while. Han Qian reluctantly refused and said that he had been asked to go to see Tu Xiao tomorrow morning. Go see Cheng Jin in the afternoon. Fortunately, the mother-in-law and father-in-law went on a trip, otherwise Han Qian would really not be able to spare time. Entering the city, several cars drove to Qian Ling's house at the same time. Under the leadership of Ji Jing, Han Qian learned that Qian Ling had moved to a villa in the school district. Han Qian looked at the spectacular three-story villa and sighed in his heart. Finally looking like a rich woman. Walking up the steps, before knocking on the door, two tall doors opened slowly. There was a man and a woman, an old man and a woman at the door. They bowed slightly to Han Qian and said respectfully, "Master." Han Qian turned around and ran away. The five girls held Han Qian tightly, and Han Qian said with a cry, "What are you going to do?" Yan Qingqing gritted her teeth and said angrily, "Teach you etiquette." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 430. The villa is large and luxuriously decorated. Even a bumpkin like Han Qian knows that the 360-degree wall panels cost hundreds of thousands. Han Qian walked into the living room and looked at the money while drinking afternoon tea. Ling and Qianwan were sitting on the soft couch under the floor-to-ceiling windows playing games with their computers in their arms. Han Qian frowned and blinked, and said softly, "Auntie, why are you here?" Hua Luo walked into the lower-mounted living room and sat across from Qian Ling. Qian Ling waved to Han Qian, narrowed her eyes and smiled. "Come here and sit here." Han Qian sat next to Qian Ling nervously. Qian Ling touched Han Qian's head and smiled. "During the Chinese New Year, there are many relatives at home. The house over there is too small. I'm thinking of moving here. I've heard some things and want to discuss it with you. Ji Jing, go ahead and prepare lunch. I guess you're all hungry." "Good Qian Dong." Han Qian knew that Ji Jing was kidnapped by Qian Ling years ago, but he didn't know what they talked about. Han Qian said in a low voice with a bitter face, "Auntie, can I not learn etiquette? I am just a rural child, illiterate who has not graduated from college. To put it bluntly, I am the dog meat who will never come to the banquet. Why don't I learn it?" Qian Ling looked at Han Qian dumbfounded. At this time, Yan Qingqing, who was sitting next to Qianwan, spoke sharply. "No. You have to learn. You are no longer the nanny you used to be. With your ability, you will come into contact with many big people in the future. It's okay if you don't have any rules in our city. You can't do it outside." Cai Qinghu said immediately. "I think Han Qian should really learn etiquette. He will definitely meet people from the province in the future. Then he can't be as casual as he was with Cheng Jin. And I heard that Han Qian has to order steak 12 minutes rare when eating Western food, and because there is no I had an argument with the waiter over the chopsticks." When the words came out, Han Qian raised his head and glared at Wen Nuan. Wen Nuan knew about this, so why did she say everything outside? Then Yu Shisai whispered that he had learned some foreign etiquette and could add some knowledge to Han Qian. As an angry young man, Han Qian loves his own country and despises all countries except his own. Han Qian knows that his thinking is wrong, but he can't change it and doesn't want to change it. Several girls are chatting about whether they should enroll Han Qian in a cram school to learn English and traditional etiquette. Han Qian whined and lay on the sofa, unable to speak. And Qian Ling laughed softly. I don't care about things between you children, and I won't force you on etiquette or etiquette. I heard that Lu Shenga and Lin Zongheng went to find you. Within a few days, it was reported that the two were seriously injured and hospitalized. Lu Shenga ran back to the capital. What exactly is going on? Han Qian was half lying on the sofa, holding a banana in his hand and biting it, and said vaguely. The two of them were responsible for this. Lu Shenga and Lin Zongheng threatened me to go hunting in the mountains together. One of these two guys stabbed the other and they were both sent to the hospital. As a result, I was fine. Qian Ling looked at Han Qian worriedly, then slapped him on the leg and said angrily. Do you know how dangerous it is? You go into the mountains with Lu Shenga. You can't tell how many lives he has on his hands. In the future, you will bring your parents to live in the city. Do you know that you have how important? Han Qian nodded and Qian Ling said angrily again. You know shit, Han Qian, let me tell you, your presence makes Lu Shenga a little intimidated. First of all, he can't do anything to the shares in my hand. Secondly, King's safety, as long as you still here, Lu Shenga will not take all the shares of glory in a short time. Later, we will talk about Chang Xiang. You have been helping Nuan stabilize his position and put pressure on Lin Zongheng, so that all his energy is now focused on defense. Even if I spend my energy and time attacking Xiao Nuan's shares, I can't shake Xiao Nuan's position in the company. Han Qian sat up and whispered. Am I the umbrella? Qian Ling curled her lips and shook her head. You are a pioneer officer, and the Yamanmen were a little wary of you later on. Cheng Jing quickly cleared the darkness at the Yamanmen because he wanted to turn the handle in your hand into waste as soon as possible. Now that you and the Yamanmen are close, what's more, Lu Shenga and Lin Zongheng don't dare to take action against the people around you. No matter how much assets they have in their hands, they don't dare to go head-on with the Yamanmen. If something happens to you, then this little bit of love will be gone. We will no longer be protected. Han Qian scratched his head and said doubtfully. Then am I still a protective umbrella? Hey, you guys, please pay the protection fee. Yan Qingqing replied immediately. Do you want to pledge yourself to me? Han Qian gave in on the spot. It's just a joke, it's a joke, why are you so serious? Yan Qingqing curled her lips in disdain. Coward. When the words came out, Han Qian stood up and said angrily. What? Is it illegal? The women in the room all looked at her with disdain and disgust. Han Qian didn't care. He was lying on the sofa smoking a cigarette. The next second, he was kicked out by the women in the room. Han Qian waved his hand and sang loudly. You little guy, you are not serious. We are laughing and joking. We are poor and happy. I am the youngest in whose family, and my figure is better than that of Zhangfei. Han Qian walked into the kitchen and watched Ji Jing and the nannies preparing meals. Han Qian held out a cigarette and touched Ji Jing's shoulder. Ji Jing, who was afraid of being touched, was frightened and turned around to find that it was Han Qian. She breathed a sigh of relief and said angrily. What are you doing? If you want to smoke, don't come to the kitchen. Be good and go out and smoke. Aunt Ji, I don't want to go out. No, the wind will blow and the house will be filled with soot. Get out, get out. Ji Jing had become a little more resistant now. She pushed Han Qian's back with both hands and pushed him out of the kitchen. The old man who greeted Han Qian at the door followed behind him with a mop to clean up the cigarette ashes that fell on the ground. Han Qian discovered finally, feeling a little embarrassed, I hurriedly put out my cigarette and returned to the living room. At the dinner table, Han Qian had no appetite after riding all the way. After eating a few mouthfuls of cold dishes, he got off the table and lay down on the sofa, pretending to be dead. Not long after he lay down, Qian came to Han Qian with a chicken leg and a notebook in hand. Brother Qian, help me make a copy. It's after 1 o'clock and we have to wait for the evening. Han Qian was lying on the sofa unwilling to get up, so he said softly. I don't want to play with big money. No, you want to rush the ducks to the shelves. Han Qian could only bite the bullet and help Daqian complete the task. At the dinner table, Qian Ling said to Yan Qingqing. Qingqing, I heard that Jijing's roommate left and checked out of the house, and you are also living in an apartment now. The house over there is also empty. You and Jijing can move in together. That community is also empty. Be safe. Yan Qingqing replied softly. I don't have any objections. Just ask Jijing. How about, Nuan, let me move in with you. You just have 3 rooms in your house. The words fell and Yu's poems followed. Yes, I still live in an apartment, Miss Nuan. When Nuan took a big mouthful of food and said vaguely. I'm going to blow up the house when I get home. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 431. In the afternoon, while several girls were chatting with Qian Ling and had no time to talk to him, Han Qian quietly slipped away. Han Qian, who was in his first year of junior high school, looked for several shops but none sold fruit baskets, so he went to eat in desperation. Market. I bought some winter dates, pears, and some yams. After getting in the car, I called Wei Tiancheng. Several girls didn't like Maserati, but Han Qian really liked this car, especially the logo, which looked like a fork of Poseidon. Lovely. Central Hospital, advanced ward on the 9th floor. Han Qian knocked on the door and then pushed the door open. The moment he walked into the ward, everyone in the ward stood up. 2 bodyguards stopped in front of Han Qian. Han Qian held a gun in his left hand. Bouquet of flowers, holding fruit in her right hand, smiling. You don't welcome me so much. Lin Zongheng, who was lying on the hospital bed, waved to the 2 bodyguards. After the bodyguards moved out of the way, Lin Zongheng smiled. Young Master Han is so thoughtful. Chrysanthemums, jujubes with yams, and cut pears. Lin is very grateful. Chrysanthemums given to the dead, jujubes and yams after eating jujube medicine, and pears cut by Han Qian. These were carefully prepared gifts for Lin Zongheng. Han Qian stepped forward and sat on Lin Zongheng's bed. Beside the bed, he put down the things in his hands and sighed softly. Han feels guilty for what happened to Mr. Lin. If I had been more arbitrary at that time, you wouldn't have to suffer here. Where did the knife hurt? Lungs. Liver. Lin Zongheng looked sideways at Han Qian and smiled lightly. Thank you, Mr. Han, for your concern. Han Qian shrugged and curled his lips. Did you scare Lu Shenga away? Did he take action? Lin Zongheng replied calmly. I have no reason not to do it. He almost made me die in the mountains. If he dares to be hospitalized in the city, I will let him have an accident. Han Qian, are you interested? Deal with Lu Shenga? Forget it, there is an agreement between the 2 of us, but if you make him uncomfortable, I don't mind making up for it. Of course, it's definitely not now. I came here today just to piss you off. You can't move while you're lying down. I'm jumping around, it's funny, right? After listening to Han Qian's words, Lin Zongheng opened the quilt and sat up with a smile, then got out of bed and stood up. The stitches of the scar on his back had not yet been removed, lying on his back like a centipede, hideous and disgusting. Lin Zongheng stretched, turned around and smiled. Very surprised. Han Qian curled his lips and said disdainfully. I should have been giving you a touch-up. I regret being so merciful. Lin Zongheng turned around, walked to Han Qian and took out a pear, took a bite without thinking, and said with a sarcastic smile. Why did I desperately give you an injection of anesthetic? I was just worried that you would kill me with a second blow. As for Lushenga, she was more of a girl than I imagined. That knife stabbed into the bone. If it was 2 inches deep, I might he's going to die in the mountains. Han Qian took out a cigarette and lit it. Lin Zongheng put down the pear and whispered. Give me one. No. Pleasant. Han Qian gave Lin Zongheng a cigarette. The guy took out a lighter from the drawer and saw that he often smoked secretly. Lin Zongheng lit a cigarette, squinted his eyes and enjoyed the numbing pleasure brought by nicotine, looked at the roof and sighed. When you were groping for Lushenga, you thought you were going to kill him. I didn't rush to do it. You took out the flare gun to show that you weren't going to kill him. The grudges between the two of us are different. The hatred of taking my wife, killing father's kindness is eternal. Did I kill your father? Han Qian, is there something wrong with your head? If not, go to the hospital. Forgot, this is the hospital. Who is there? Go and call Mr. Han, the neurology department. Ah. Han Qian sneered, raised his head and squinted at Lin Zongheng, curling his lips. Why do I not believe it so much? At that time, only Lushenga among the 3 of us had a flare gun. If I didn't shoot, we would all die in the mountains. When I got the flare gun, you were confident. Don't tell me, you seem to have a very clear plan. Yes, if your brain is better, warmth won't block your phone number, and you can sleep on the same bed with me. The last sentence made Lin Zongheng cough in anger. He finally understood that Han Qian came here today to make him angry, and Lin Zongheng discovered something. He really didn't dare to fight Han Qian in the city. The power behind him quite a few, Qian Ling, Wen Nuan and Lin Zongheng would not pay attention to them. What made him afraid were the 2 giant Buddhas at the Yamen gate. Just as Han Qian was about to stand up, the ward door behind him was pushed open. Han Qian was busy throwing the cigarette butts under his feet and crushing them. He stood up and yelled at Lin Zongheng, who was smoking. Young Master Lin, I have to say a few words to you. How can you smoke when you are injured like this? Lin Zongheng tilted his head and frowned as he looked at Han Qian and said angrily. Are you humming stupid? If you don't smoke in front of me, can I become addicted to cigarettes? While he was speaking, the cigarette was taken away from his mouth, and Lin Zongheng's fiancée Luo Shen appeared next to him, looking at Lin Zongheng with a gloomy face and saying coldly. If you want to die, just say so. If I don't want to marry you, I'll be a widow. Ouch. From Luo Shen's tone, Han Qian got some simple news. She didn't seem to like Lin Zongheng. Lin Zongheng was a little afraid of her. The Luoshan family should not be weaker than the Lin family, or even stronger than the Lin family. This can be seen from the fact that Lin Zongheng did not dare to refute. In this way, Han Qian found another opportunity to mock him. Trash, how can a big man be punished even if he smokes a cigarette? My cigarette was bought for me by Nuan Nuan. Lin Zongheng tilted his head and squinted at Han Qian, frowning and said angrily. Can you stop hanging around in front of me if you're fine? Why am I bothering you so much? Let me tell you something serious. I can't suffer the consequences of Lushenga's attack. Han Qian asked with a frown. Didn't you also give me a knife? At that time, you wanted to kill me. Lin Zongheng, there is something I should explain to you. Now the scales between you and Lushenga are balanced. Whichever side I lean towards will be the winner. If you give me some benefits, I won't mind helping you get him back. Lin Zongheng frowned. At this time, Luo Shen, who had thrown away his cigarette butt, pushed Lin Zongheng back to the hospital bed, raised his head and looked at Han Qian, frowned and said coldly. Han Qian, you take yourself too seriously. Lu Shenge's family background is in the capital. He belongs to a small and unpopular family in the capital. You take him too seriously. You helped Zongheng. I remember a favor from you. Han Qian looked at Lin Zongheng and smiled. What are you going to do? Kill someone? Use force. Lin Zongheng shook his head lightly. Then don't worry about it. You helped me, and I won't worry about the past with you. Oh, what a fool. Are you pretending to be a big-tailed wolf with me, you big bastard Lin? The purpose of my coming today is to ridicule you. If you don't care about the past things with me, you spend money to buy my legs and shoot in the mountains. I haven't argued with you about shooting me and giving me 2 injections of anesthetic, right? Lin Zongheng shrugged and said frivolously. You mean to keep playing? Han Qian smiled and nodded. 3 kingdoms is better than water margin. After the words fell, Luo Shen, the bitch, spoke again. 3 kingdoms. Are you Han Qian? Because of Feng Lun, our city's reputation has spread. After the Luo family moves into the city, can Qianling protect you? Or is Wen enough? Han Qian glanced at Luo Shen out of the corner of his eye, stood up, stretched, yawned and said. Little girl, you seem to have not understood one thing. The issue of whether your family can enter the city to do business is not decided by Lin Mend. After saying this, the door of the room was pushed open. Lin Mend, who had been listening outside for a long time, pushed the door in, looked at Han Qian with squinted eyes and smiled. Oh? What my niece-in-law said is a bit interesting. I don't have the final say on whether Luoshen's business can be located in the city. Then tell me, who has the final say? Han Qian bowed slightly towards Lin Mend. When he raised his head, the corners of his mouth raised slightly, his face full of arrogance. It's me, Han Qian, who has the final say. Lin Mend narrowed his eyes, his smile disappeared, and he sneered coldly. Oh? My niece-in-law seems a little young and energetic. It has nothing to do with you whether you are young or not. Agility is my own personality. There seems to be one thing you haven't given me an explanation of yet. Before this matter is explained clearly, we will treat the expansion of Changxiang and the Luo family's stay as enough chatting. Lin Men's face turned cold and he said in a deep voice. Are you talking about seducing De Pao? He has nothing to do with me, why should he explain to you? My wife's warm plan has been implemented, and there is plenty of time. Let's let Changxiang's business open after the first month of the year. Lin Mend had a gloomy face, and Luo Shen screamed angrily. Han Qian, give it a try. Try? I'm sorry, you may have misunderstood. I'm not trying, I'm just telling you a fact. After saying that, he walked past Lin Mend and strode away. You gave me 2 injections of anesthetic and fired a shot. How could this matter go away so easily? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 432. At night, Han Qian was lying on the bed, and Wen Nuan was lying next to him. He didn't know what was wrong. Wen Nuan had been chirping all the way back from Jianling's house. He had no appetite for dinner at night. He would just lie in bed and moan. It was endless. Han Qian was a little upset by the torture. He stretched out his hand and slapped his warm butt, frowning. You have nails growing on your body. Oh, brother Qian. Wen Nuan stood up and looked at Han Qian seriously. Han Qian frowned and hid back. Seeing this, Nuan Wen came closer, took Han Qian's arm and whispered softly. You said that Luo Shen was very rude to you, right? She even threatened you. I feel very uncomfortable now. I really want to rush over and give her a slap, but then I know I can't do this. The more I think about it, the more annoyed I become. The more I think about it. Han Qian breathed a sigh of relief, raised his hand to stroke his warm hair, and said softly. I don't even care about her. She's just a stinky old woman. She threatens me. Am I afraid? Then who do you trust? It started again, and she started to choose what she wanted to hear. Han Qian lay on the tatami with a sigh and pretended not to hear Nuan Nuan's question. Miss Nuan Nuan pressed half of her body on Han Qian's back and asked. Who? Yan Qingqing or Cai King Hu? Han Qian, who was pinned down, sighed helplessly. Where is this going? No? Zheng? Yushisai, by the way. I feel something is wrong with Yushisai. Please stay away from her in the future. Yeah, I know. Then who is your heart? Nursery rhyme. It is said that men will have abnormal thoughts about certain professional women. Do you think so too, Han Qian? You can suspect that I am not a good person, but you cannot insult my character. Han Qian struggled to get up. Within a few seconds, Wen Wen was wrapped around Han Qian's body like an octopus. Every time Han Qian got up, he was pressed by her. Slowly, Wen Wen found a joy. Han Qian seemed to be when doing push ups, she is the one doing the waiting. Nuan Nuan had seen a video like this on the internet a long time ago, called Boyfriend Power. When her mind was full of fantasies, Han Qian stopped playing and lay on the tatami panting. Can you think of something serious in your head? I've already told you that I plan to postpone the opening of Changjiang's store, and the daily losses will be considerable. Wen Nuan said nonchalantly. Stop it, stores and shopping malls are not under my jurisdiction. I am mainly responsible for real estate, finance, and company headquarters management. These have nothing to do with me, and the losses are not mine alone. Just be happy. In fact, Wen Nuan feels distressed in his heart. The first month of the year is the hottest time of the shopping mall. During this period, if the business is closed for rectification, problems will occur even in 3 days, let alone half a month. However, Wen Nuan understands the unreasonableness in Han Qian's heart. Help relatives but not care. Han Qian shook his body and sighed softly when he saw that the warmth had no intention of going away. I can't say that what Lin Zongheng did to me will just go away as if it didn't happen. I will find a way to make up for your losses. It may also be helpful to you if you let them stop business. Merchants go to the company to seek justice. If so, I will let people spread the news that it was the Lin family father and son and the unmarried daughter-in-law who offended someone. First, I will reduce the public's goodwill towards Lin Mend and Lin Zongheng, and then let you go out to solve this matter and win some respect in the company. Oh, just tell me what to do when the time comes. I'm too lazy to think about it and it will give me a headache. While Wen Nuan wasn't paying attention, Han Qian turned over and pressed Wen Wen on his body, but something was wrong with this direction. Wen Wen smiled and asked Han Qian if the two of them looked like turtles inside their shells now. The girl was in a better mood, but Han Qian was in a bad mood. All right. Nuan Nuan mentioned the nursery rhyme again, and Han Qian firmly believed that Nuan Nuan didn't know anything, and that Nuan Nuan just felt sorry for losing a friend. Late at night, Han Qian wrapped Wen Nuan in a quilt and carried him back to her room. How could he stay up late at night watching mukbang, and then drooled and smacked his lips? After being thrown back on the bed, Han Qian shouted that Han Qian was an old-fashioned old man. Son, you won't go to work tomorrow, why did you go to bed so early? Han Qian ignored her. Nuan Nuan sat on the bed and curled his hair with his fingers, coquettishly. Just playing for a while. Han Qian was caught and fled. At 9 o'clock the next morning, Han Qian stood by the bed and looked at the woman lying on the bed. Her sleeping position was indescribably warm. The quilt had been kicked to nowhere, the hem of her nightgown was raised to her waist, and the top of her underwear was the large Pikachu made a gesture towards Han Qian. I can't sleep at night and can't get up in the morning. Wen Nuan is the sloppiest girl Han Qian knows, second only to Yan Qingqing. With a slap on the girl's butt, Han Qian felt no emotion in his heart. When Nuan opened his eyes in a daze, glanced at Han Qian, and continued to sleep. The two of them felt like an old married couple. Han Qian slapped him again, and this slap made Wen Nuan angry. He stood up and pulled Han Qian by the collar to the bed. He hugged Han Qian's head and said in a daze with his eyes closed, "Sister, put you to sleep." Smelling the body fragrance of the girl, Han Qian sighed and blew the heat on Wen Nuan's chest, which invigorated Wen. He pushed Han Qian away, raised his legs and kicked him out of bed, saying angrily, "You bastard, where are you breathing from? You little white-eyed wolf, can you get up? I'm going to Tu Xiao's place to pay New Year's greetings in the morning, and I'm going to see Cheng Jin in the afternoon. If you don't want to go, I'll call Yan Qingqing and Cai King Hu." Nuan sat on the bed and squinted at Han Qian, curling his lips and saying contemptuously, "Threaten me? Han Qian, just wait for me." Nuan got out of bed and grabbed Han Qian's ears, and Han Qian surrendered on the spot. "I can't afford a headbutt." Pulling Nuan to see Tu Xiao was a sign of respect, but there was no such thing in Nuan's mind. The sloppy girl at home went out and turned into the goddess sister in the hearts of everyone. She wore a white windbreaker, black wide leg pants, and was too lazy to wash her hair. She had her hair tied into a ponytail and a pair of high heels about 3 to 4 centimeters tall. Holding Han Qian's arm and walking into the elevator, Han Qian always felt that the warmth was higher than him. When he arrived at the garage, Han Qian walked straight towards the co-pilot. Seeing this, Wen Nuan was happy and said angrily, "You asked me to drive again? Didn't you see I was wearing high heels?" Han Qian turned around and walked towards the cab. Nuan started to find trouble again. "You don't even want to talk to me?" Han Qian said helplessly. "You get up and get angry, Auntie, I'm too lazy to talk to you." After saying this, Nuan slapped his forehead and said sadly, "My aunt? Okay, I know you forgot to bring it, so I'll carry it for you. Get in the car and give it to you." When Nuan sat in the car and stretched out his hand to Han Qian. Han Qian took out a pack of ant towels from his pocket and handed it to Wen. Han Qian sighed softly. "It's like I'm your aunt, why can't you remember it yourself?" Nuan took over the topic of Auntie's swivel chair. "Go buy some gifts. It's nothing more than tobacco, wine, sweets, and tea, I mean."